이번에 APEC 다정
The APEC summit is a multilateral dialogue when these days the focus seems to be more on bilateral talks. With so many countries involved, what's your strategy for a successful APEC?
APEC은
As you can see in the name of APEC, it's an economic consultative body in the Asia-Pacific region. It might seem like politics and economics are quite separate, but there are two sides of the same coin. Many heads of state and business leaders will come together to discuss how to find new ways to enhance cooperation, not only for the global economy, but also for bettering the lives of all. And within this multilateral platform, we must also create the space for bilateral dialogue and cooperation.
양자회담에 있어서는 지금
You're having bilateral talks with President Trump. What needs to be achieved for that meeting to be considered a success?
일단은 만남 자체가 성공이죠.
A meeting with President Trump is a success in itself. We will have the opportunity to increase mutual understanding and find ways that will benefit both our countries. And I believe this is the goal of any bilateral meeting. During my last summit meeting with President Trump, the results were quite different from the concerns raised by many. As you can see, we were able to reach an understanding of each other's positions and find various ways to help each other through dialogue and communication. Also on this occasion, I'll be meeting with President Xi of China, and there'll be a summit meeting expected between China and the United States as well. The world order is moving towards a very complicated and dangerous phase, but through bilateral talks like these, we can gain a deeper understanding of each other, coexist, and sufficiently find mutually beneficial paths. And I believe fostering such outcomes is the role of Korea as the chair.
미국과의 무역 협정에 있어서는 지금
I hear there's still a long way to go in the trade negotiations with the U.S. If there's no outcome this time, could the negotiations become more precarious?
한미 간의 협상은 이제 안보 분야.
The negotiations between Korea and the United States are proceeding in two areas of security and economics simultaneously. Negotiations in the field of security issues are going very well, but negotiations in the area of economics, especially trade, have reached a preliminary agreement, and we're in the process of hashing out the details. The discussion is ongoing and there are some differences of opinion, but the delay does not necessarily mean that this is a failure. We already have a comprehensive agreement, and we're currently working on the details. So I would appreciate your patience.
일본과의 협상에 있어서는 좀
When it comes to Japan's deal, there have been some divergent interpretations. Is South Korea trying to make it more specific than Japan's? And if that's the case, could that become more burdensome for Korea later on?
대한민국은 일본이 아닙니다.
Korea is not Japan. I do not fully know what deal the US and Japan have struck, but from our point of view, we have our own circumstances, and we will reach a rational result that suits us. Of course, the example of Japan or Europe could be a base that we can refer to, but in the end, we must find a way which takes into account Korea's circumstances, that is acceptable to Korea, and also helps the United States in its manufacturing renaissance. As we search for a mutually beneficial path, there will be differences as well as alignment of opinions.
접점을 맞추는 데 있어서는
In finding common ground, could the size of the U.S. investment fund become smaller?
투자의 방식,
The method of investment, the amount of investment, the timeline, and how we will share the losses and divide the dividends, all of these remain sticking points. The US will of course try to maximize its interests, but it must not be to the extent that causes catastrophic consequences for South Korea. The United States is the leading country in the world when it comes to democracy and rationality. South Korea is an ally and friend of the United States, so we believe that we will be able to reach a rational result that is acceptable to all sides, and this is what has to be done.
한국 기업이 미국에 투자하는 자체도 약간
Even investing in the U.S. seems somewhat unstable, as we saw with the immigration raid in Georgia. We understand Koreans can now work at U.S. factories with B1 and ESTA visas, but when can we expect a more fundamental solution?
비자 문제는
I believe we can find a realistic solution to the visa issue in the not-too-distant future. In fact, the visa issue is less a problem for Korea than it is for the United States. Korean firms are taking risks by investing in the United States. As a result, they create jobs and help the manufacturing renaissance. Providing an environment for Korean firms to quickly build their factories will be in the interest of the United States. If there are restrictions on Korean workers who build factories and train employees, this will stall the construction of factories. Thus, it's in the interest of the United States to quickly resolve these issues.
그러면 지금
You'll be speaking to many companies at the APEC CEO Summit. Many firms and workers are now anxious about going to the U.S. How can the government help resolve this?
우리로서는 매우 불합리한 처우를 받았고
Many in Korea were surprised because our workers who went to the United States to help the U.S. with its manufacturing renaissance received irrational treatment. This has also caused severe trauma for the workers as well, and I've heard that some workers do not want to go back. So, without taking measures to ensure the safety and rational treatment of these workers, there is a high possibility that factory construction in the U.S. may be significantly postponed. These workers are highly trained and talented people, but the experience of being handcuffed and detained in a foreign country is not only traumatic and unbelievable for the workers, but also for their families. Unless we completely resolve this issue, I believe that they will not want to return.
이번 APEC이 또 부각된
A highlight of the APEC summit is the upcoming meeting between Presidents Trump and Xi Jinping. How important is this dialogue for South Korea?
한국은 지금 공급망을 둘러싸고
When it comes to the supply chain, the world is divided into two blocks facing off each other, one led by the United States and one by China. Korea is situated both geographically and economically between these two. We are situated in between two grinding stones. It's a situation akin to having both arms pulled by China and the United States. This is both a challenge and an opportunity. We cherish our baseline policy emphasizing the Korea-US alliance and Korea-US-Japan trilateral cooperation. At the same time, we do not seek to sever ties or pursue excessive confrontation with China or socialist nations. Korea will continue to cherish and emphasize its alliance with the United States, and at the same time manage its relationship with China.
근데 이미 지금 하나오션에 미국
Already, Hanwha Ocean's U.S. subsidiaries are caught in the middle, though. Are you concerned that other Korean companies might become targets too? And do you feel this is somewhat an unfair situation?
한국의 미국 진출 자회사들에 대해서
From Korea's point of view, it's very regretful and hard to understand that Korean subsidiaries in the U.S. have been sanctioned by China because we were cooperating with the United States. It's highly likely that this is China's way of applying pressure, signaling that such incidents could continue to occur in the future. Despite this, we'll continue to pursue our basic stance, which emphasizes the United States while working to maintain good relations with China. In any case, we will not directly face off against China. On the outside, it might seem that the United States is very confrontational against China, but at the same time, they continue to ceaselessly communicate and cooperate in areas where possible.
안보에 있어서는 국방비를 더 올리라는 요구가 계속 트럼프 대통령
When it comes to security, President Trump continues to demand an increase in defense spending. Prime Minister Kim Min-seok said the government is currently reviewing a target of 3.5% of GDP. Will that be sufficient for President Trump?
유럽도 3.5%
In the case of Europe, they mentioned 3.5% direct defense spending, plus 1.5% indirect spend for a total of 5%, and this was acceptable. The Republic of Korea is already spending more on national defense than other countries. We're currently at 2.3% of GDP. This is not because of US demands, but because my government's basic position is that we need to raise defense spending to a sufficient level that ensures the self-reliant defense of Korea. Thus, 3.5% is in line with our defense plans. The Republic of Korea's military is ranked 5th in the world, and our defense spending is 1.4 times greater than the total GDP of North Korea. Under such circumstances, one cannot say that Korea is incapable of providing for its own defense. We will continue to strengthen our defense capabilities so that we can fundamentally neutralize North Korea's threat and secure unchallenged supremacy. With this, we will pursue dialogue with the North in order to maintain peace and stability and seek out a path for common prosperity of both Koreas. It's clear that USFK is critical in maintaining peace and security on the Korean Peninsula. Yet it is the reality of the international community that we cannot make decisions on the fate of USFK. We will make sure that we have sufficient means to deter North Korea and defend our country under any circumstances regardless of outside assistance.
북한에서 미사일을 또 발사했잖아요.
North Korea just fired missiles again. What do you think is their intent?
북한도 무기 개발을 하는 것이고
North Korea continues to develop weapons and sometimes test fires them to show the world. We had been expecting North Korea to test fire missiles for some time since my inauguration, but they had not conducted any tests for quite a while.
근데 김정은 위원장께서 이거를
But do you think Chairman Kim Jong-un wants dialogue? You talked about being a pacemaker for talks between Trump and Kim. How are you trying to facilitate dialogue?
우리로서는
For us, it's most desirable to engage in direct dialogue with the North to establish peace on the Korean Peninsula and engage in necessary cooperation. Since channels of direct communication between South and North Korea have been completely severed and hostility has deepened, proactive dialogue between the US and North Korea could play a decisive role in improving inter-Korean relations. That's why President Trump's efforts to engage North Korea in dialogue, cooperation, and bilateral relations can greatly help better relations and confidence building and establishing peace between the two Koreas. Thus, I see no reason why we have to claim that we must move first. I see myself as a pragmatic and result-oriented person. If we can achieve the establishment of substantial peace and security on the Korean Peninsula, I can make compromises on rationale, optics, and process. There are many speculations, but we hope US-North Korea dialogue can resume in the near future. And we'll work to create an environment where both South and North Koreans will not feel threatened to facilitate the resumption of dialogue.
한국은행에서는 지금
The Bank of Korea has left interest rates unchanged again. If there are no more rate cuts, will the government need another extra budget?
지금은 이자율을 낮출
Regarding the economic situation in Korea, the interest rate is not the issue. Rather, it's more a matter of fiscal policy and economic policy. From these three, I believe a stable economic policy is most important. Next would be the fiscal policy that supports the economic policy. If we were to lower interest rates, this could stimulate real estate prices, which is already an issue for us. The BOK made the right decision by keeping rates unchanged instead of cutting them. In order to revive Korea's economy and ensure sustainable growth, the fiscal policy of the past may not be sufficient, but it's not lacking either. With additional measures such as expansion of productive financing in areas like high-tech development, which we're focusing on, we'll be able to build a foundation for economic revival and sustainable growth.
너무 신기한 게 요즘에는 부동산 투자를 많이 했잖아요. 저희 부모님도 항상 집 사라.
What's surprising is that people invested heavily in real estate, and even my parents always told me to buy a house first. But now they're saying I should buy stocks. How do you view this new trend of growing assets?
대한민국은 사실은
The truth is, the Republic of Korea is sitting on a very dangerous potential crisis, a ticking bomb that is excessive real estate investment. Just look at Japan. Its real estate bubble burst more than 30 years ago, and the country is still dealing with the economic pain today. Unfortunately, Korea is heading down a similar path. Our property prices are among the highest in the world. If this trend continues, the bubble will inevitably burst. When this happens, it won't just be an economic crisis. We'll face a severe crisis not only economically but across all sectors. We must prevent that from happening. That means creating channels for capital to flow into more productive sectors of the economy. That's why I've been working hard to remove unnecessary regulations and irrational barriers in our capital markets. We're beginning to see the results. Funds are gradually shifting from real estate into financial and capital markets, and public trust in those markets has improved significantly. You can see the results reflected in the new record highs of the KOSPI index, levels we've never seen before. We need to stay on this course. If we continue implementing national policies that curb speculative real estate investments and direct capital towards productive areas, we can sustain this positive momentum. That's the only way to normalize the Korean economy back to a healthy, sustainable path of growth. We cannot give up on this path.